Welcome to Thursday Thoughts. If you notice today, I am going off script, basically because my wife told me to, and she's usually right about those things. So, welcome to the first Thursday Thoughts off script. Today, I want to talk a little bit about an idea that we kick around in the upper school a lot, and that is the idea that all truth is God's truth. This is a phrase we use, and I want to talk about what that means. Because we get a lot of questions. I think a lot of people, particularly in Christianity today, say, well, why study pagan authors, or why study these classic works when we have all the truth we need in the Bible, or we can read Christians, or we can study Christians. And I think that's a fair question. It's something to think about. But the perspective we take in the upper school is that all truth is God's truth, whether it's discovered by a Christian or a non-Christian. And so, for instance, with something like DNA, the building block of life, right? That the guys who discovered this, Watson and Crick, were atheists. But that doesn't mean that DNA isn't real or isn't true. And I think as Christians, we have to understand that these sorts of discoveries, well, they are real, they are true. And while the people who discovered them aren't Christians, as Christians, we can understand that truth is God's truth. And then our job is to bring it into the service of God's kingdom. And this is what a lot of classical Christian educators will call plundering the Egyptians, because when the children of Israel left Egypt, the Egyptians gave them all manner of gold and livestock and goods to send them on their way. And ultimately, those are things that God used for his kingdom, for his tabernacle, for his people, for his nation. And of course, the temptation for them that they fell prey to at one point was using some of that gold, to build a false god. And I think as Christians, we also have to be careful that we don't plunder the Egyptians only to take that truth that should belong to God and make it an idol. So we can't stop at just discovering something that's true. We have to bring it back to its proper home in the gospel and use it for God's kingdom. So, for instance, in literature class, our students are going to read The Great Gatsby. And The Great Gatsby is a book full of broken people who make terrible decisions. And yet, the book is full of truth, because Fitzgerald understood the human condition in a way that oftentimes as Christians we miss. We don't get that. He painted a picture that is absolutely true. He painted a picture of people who are broken and trying desperately to fill their lives with meaning through money and power and relationships, and to no avail, who end up incredibly broken and still very much in need of something to give themselves meaning. And as Christians, we can look at that and we can go, absolutely, if we pursue meaning in other people, in money, in relationships, in just doing whatever it is we think is going to make us happy, we will end up empty, just like the characters in that book. In a lot of ways, that book helps us come back to the scriptures, to Ecclesiastes, where very much the same thing happens. This quest for meaning and how it leads to emptiness if we don't come back to the truth of the gospel, that Christ is the one who gives us ultimate purpose and ultimate meaning. And so these can be powerful tools to a Christian to speak with non-Christians, but also to understand in a way that we haven't thought about before, a fresh set of eyes to understand God's truth, and then bring it back to its home in the gospel. And that's what we do every day, whether we're studying history or literature or math, science, Latin. It's all in an effort to discover God's truth, because all truth is God's truth, and then take that truth and bring it back to its home in the gospel to better serve Christ and to serve his kingdom. So thank you for joining me today. Have a happy Thursday.